Let's do this one more time. Letting the sound just arrive at the ears. So as we breathe and notice ourselves sitting, however we're sitting, we can notice the buttocks on the seat, our feet on the floor, bringing ourselves into the present moment as best we can. And we're not just here as bodies in a chair, but here in a way that the heart recognizes. So often we attend to something physically while our attention is scattered somewhere else entirely. The mind is planning, replaying, anticipating, negotiating, narrating, protecting, trying to get ahead in life or get away from it. It's like a committee up there in the mind. And this committee, in my mind, never seems to adjourn. So we take this time to return to something beautifully simple. Something we do all day, every day, without trying. Something intimate, something trustworthy. We're going to practice something beautifully ordinary, breathing. We might notice whether the breath is long or short on the inhale. We might notice whether it's slow or fast. We might notice whether it's rough or smooth. And when I say that we're going to practice something beautifully ordinary, the breath, That might sound too simple. Maybe we want something more advanced. The Buddha offered mindfulness of breathing, not as a starter technique and not as a warm-up act, but as a complete path of awakening when cultivated deeply. So I would like to start by sharing a powerful quote from the text of the Pali Canon, the canonical collections of the Buddha's teachings in the Theravadan tradition. Mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, fulfills the four establishments of mindfulness. The four establishments of mindfulness, when developed and cultivated, fulfill the 7 factors of awakening. And the 7 factors of awakening, when developed and cultivated, fulfill true knowledge and liberation. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. This is the Ānāpānasati Sutta, the teachings on the awareness of in and out breathing. And you can find it in the Pali Canon. It's a segment called the Maji Manikya, which means the middle-length discourses. And it's worth looking up. It's MN 118. And it's one of the Buddha's direct meditation teachings. And this talk is going to be a wisdom talk, and it might take some attention and concentration on your part, but I promise you, even though I'm going over it systematically, I hope it's worth it. And I tried to make the sutta approachable and easeful, with practice experience mixed in and a couple of stories. And so just staying seated this way, breathing in and out gently. You can continue with your eyes closed or open, whatever you feel like. And the breath is gentle and accessible, unwaveringly steady, and profoundly transformative, really. And we don't have to force anything. We don't have to make something happen. The in and the out breath is rarely noticed, but it's already happening. And so our task is to return to it again and again with tenderness. Some days the breath feels peaceful. Some days the breath feels tight. Some days the breath feels like it doesn't want to be dealt with at all. But every breath is honest, and honesty is where awakening begins. This is a complete path of awakening, and when cultivated with gentleness and sincerity, it's one of the Buddha's earliest discourses on the awareness of in and out breathing. It's simple, it's quiet, it's steady, and it changes everything. The breath is not something that we need to create. It's already happening. Our work is simply to turn toward it. And the Buddha describes mindfulness of breathing as a path that unfolds gradually and naturally through 4 layers of awareness, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And in this teaching, it's expressed in 4 tetrads. And these 4 aren't like rungs on a ladder, and it doesn't need to be forced. It's a gradual deepening of intimacy with our own experience. The movement is gentle. We begin with the body, because the body is what feels real at the grossest experiential level. And then we notice the feeling tone, which is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, and it's the emotional flavor of experience. And next we explore the state of the mind, open, tight, scattered, soft, the state and movement of the mind. So we have body, emotional tone, and mind. And finally, we see the nature of experience itself, arising and passing, not possessing us. the truth of how experience arises and passes. And this is awakening from the inside out, as it is, as it comes, as it goes. This is the entry point. So just taking one slow breath now, breathing in, notice the body receiving. And breathing out, notice the body softening. No fixing, no controlling, just presence. This is the doorway to which we can always return. The Buddha describes 16 steps of mindfulness of breathing arranged in these 4 groups of 4, the 4 Tetrads, as I mentioned, and we move them through them gently, not as tasks to complete, but experiences to become familiar with. We don't force progress. We move through them gently, the way we might walk along a riverbank, unhurried, noticing and allowing all to be seen and unfold. We don't try to accomplish or complete anything. We allow the practice to unfold inside of us. The way morning light unfolds across a hillside, naturally, quietly, in its own timing. There's no sense of passing or failing. We're simply becoming familiar with our own experience. So I'm going to go slowly through the first 4 observations. And then we'll be quiet for a while after I read them slowly. As you observe your own breath, feeling it directly, knowing through experience without changing anything, just noticing. So this first tetrad, the Buddha suggests breathing in long. I know I am breathing in long. Direct experience. Breathing out long. I know I breathe out long. Breathing in short. I know I breathe in short. Breathing out short. I know I breathe out short. So try that for a while without making your breath long or short. You're just noticing on the inhale and on the exhale. Is this breath long or short? And we're noticing it directly. Breathing in, I know this. I know that it's long or short. Breathing out, I know by experience, paying attention, that it's long or short. Easefully and gently. And next we have breathing in, I experience the whole body. Breathing out, I experience the whole body. Breathing in, I calm the bodily formations. Breathing out, I calm the bodily formations. So we have noticing the in and out breath as short or long. So that's directly noticing the breath. And then that expands to experiencing the whole body. And in experiencing the whole body and calming the body formations, it was written in some of the translations that this is the training. The first two we know directly, and then we train to pay attention to experiencing the whole body and then the calming of the body. All right, now let's continue. We begin with what is simple and honest. What is the breath doing? If the breath is long, we know it. We're not trying to change the breath. We're not trying to make it slow or deep or peaceful. We're simply noticing what is already here. If the breath is short, we know it's short. This is truthfulness and awareness without effort. Then at that third point, do you notice that the attention is widening? When awareness broadens from just the tip of the nose or the chest or the belly, wherever your attention was paying attention to the breath, now it expands to the whole body breathing. The chest can expand. We notice the ribs widening. The collarbones respond. The belly softens. The back moves subtly. Even the face participates. The whole body is breathing life. It's almost like the body is saying, thank you for noticing me. You might be able to notice this in the background from time to time, even while you're listening as I talk. Tension begins to release, not by pushing it away, but because awareness itself is a form of safety. The first tetrad is not just about breath, but it's about coming home to your own life. The body is a chorus of breathing, not a machine doing one thing. So let's repeat this again for a little while. Breathing in long. I know I am breathing in long. Breathing out long. I know I am breathing out long. Breathing in short. I know I am breathing in short. Breathing out short. I know I am breathing out short. And sometimes I change the word knowing to experience, because that knowing doesn't mean a knowing in your mind. It means experiencing directly what the breath is feeling like. It's our direct experience that we're focusing on. Breathing in, I train myself. I will breathe in mindful of the whole body. Breathing out, I will train myself to breathe out, mindful of the whole body. breathing in, I train myself. I will breathe in, calming the bodily formations. Breathing out, I train myself. I will breathe out, calming the bodily formations. Now we're going to meander into the second tetrad, that of Vedana or feeling tone. So these are these four. Breathing in, I experience joy, piti. And we repeat that with the out breath. Breathing out, I experience joy, piti. Breathing in, I experience happiness, ease. Breathing out, I experience happiness, ease. Breathing in, I experience emotional formations. Breathing out, I experience emotional formations. Breathing in, I experience happiness, ease, sukha. Breathing out, I experience happiness and ease. Breathing in, I experience emotional formations. Breathing out, I experience emotional formations. And the fourth one in this tetrad is breathing in, I calm emotional formations. Breathing with the out breath, I breathe out, calming emotional formations. So now we have experiencing joy, experiencing ease, experiencing the emotional formations, and calming the mental formations. So once the body feels more settled from the first four steps, something begins to open in the heart. A lightness arises, a quiet warmth, a feel of, oh, I don't have to fight this moment. Joy arises, but not the dramatic, sparkling kind. Joy here is a quiet uplift, the warmth that comes when struggling loosens. Happiness in this teaching doesn't mean excitement. It means ease. It's gentle, like sunlight through the curtains, like relief, a kind of inner exhale. We begin to notice emotional textures moving in the body. Some of those might be experienced as tenderness or sorrow gratitude, longing, overwhelm, relief, tension, excitement, fear, tenderness, uncertainty, softening. I'm sure you can identify many more during the experience that you have in sitting. And we learn to stay with ourselves, not to abandon ourselves. We don't need to push feelings away. We also don't need to drown in them. We simply breathe with them. Not to fix them, not to get rid of them, but to stay with ourselves. This is the opposite of abandoning ourselves, the opposite of self-rejection. This is love disguised as attention. And gradually emotional formations calm, not because we force them to, but because they were allowed. And as we stay, the feelings can become less overwhelming. We're holding them in a larger space. That larger space is kind awareness. You might recall a couple of weeks ago I spoke about dukkha and sukha. And you might notice here in this second tetrad is sukha. So let's take a little bit longer time to experience this tetrad. I've translated them a little bit differently. But once again, it's training. Breathing in, I train myself to experience joy, piti. Repeating with the out-breath, I train myself to experience piti or joy. Which is a lightness of the mind. And we just notice the emotional textures moving in the body. We're holding this all in kind awareness. Breathing in, I train myself to experience happiness or ease, sukha. Repeating that with the out-breath. Breathing out, I train myself to experience ease, sukha. With this quiet joy and ease, breathing in, I train myself to notice emotional formations. Repeating with the out-breath. Breathing out, I train myself to notice emotional formations. So we just begin to notice emotional textures moving in the body. Breathing in and breathing out with ease, with subtle, gentle joy. Noticing emotions moving in the body. Breathing in, I train myself. I calm emotional formations. And with the out breath, breathing out, I train myself to calm emotional formations. Recently, I was in a conversation with someone I cared about. The conversation mattered, and because it mattered, emotions arose. My chest tightened, my breath moved higher and faster and defensive. The mind started forming arguments, explanations, defenses, instinctively protecting. And then I remembered the breath. Not dramatically, not like a spiritual aha moment, just quietly. I didn't fix the situation. I didn't say the perfect things. I didn't become enlightened or awake in that moment. I simply breathed in and out, present. Something softened, not because I controlled the moment, but because I stayed. Being present replaced reactivity, and that changed everything. This right here is practice, alive in real life, not perfection, not control, just returning. Returning to the body, returning to the breath, returning to myself. Now let's experience the third tetrad. And don't worry about remembering all of these in this order. I have a handout for you to look at so that you can take it home later and maybe apply it if you want to. And it helps you become more familiar with them. The third tetrad is about the mind, or citta. The simple version is, I am aware of the mind, I gladden the mind, I steady the mind, and I release the mind. This is where the practice becomes deeply personal. We're turning toward the mood of the mind. We turn toward the mental weather. So take a moment to just notice, what is the mind doing? Is it restless? Is it heavy? Is it hopeful? Is it guarded? Is it scattered? Is it soft and open? Is it tight? Or protective? Or hopeful? Or spacious? We don't analyze as we're noticing this. We don't scold ourselves for anything. We simply notice. And then we gladden the mind, not by cheering it up, but by speaking kindly inside. We name it gently without judgment, but by offering kindness. There can be a small internal whisper, a quiet, private whisper, saying, it's okay, just this breath. You don't have to solve everything right now. Kindness is not sentimental here, it's actually structural. Kindness creates stability, and the mind steadies. And as it steadies, something else releases. Not dramatically like fireworks, but like a muscle unclenching after holding too much for too long. Release is the mind remembering its natural state. This is the breath teaching teaching the mind how to rest. It feels like the exhale after holding tension too long, or softening around the edges of a difficult thought. The space that opens when we stop trying to control everything. Release is the mind remembering its own nature. So let's become more familiar with this tetrad. And just let the phrases settle into your heart. Breathing in, I am aware of the mind. I train myself. I will breathe in mindful of the mind. I will breathe out mindful of the mind. Breathing in, I gladden the mind. Breathing in, I train myself. I will breathe in, gladdening, brightening the mind. Speaking kindly to yourself, it's okay. Breathing in, I train myself to gladden the mind. Breathing out, I train myself to gladden the mind. And next is, I will breathe in, steadying the mind. I will train myself. I will breathe in, concentrating the mind. Steadying the mind, concentrating the mind. Breathing out. I breathe out, steadying the mind, concentrating the mind. Staying with that breath, easeful and natural. The last is releasing the mind. Breathing in, I train myself releasing the mind, letting go of tension in the mind. Breathing out, I release the mind. Breathing out, I train myself releasing the mind, letting go of tension in the mind. And the last tetrad is about experiencing the nature of reality or insight. And this final tetrad is beyond the breath. And yet the breath leads us here. Basically, it goes like this. Breathing in, I train myself. I will breathe in, observing impermanence. Breathing out, observing impermanence. Breathing in and out, I train myself, observing the fading of grasping. This is called observing dispassion. Breathing in and out, I train myself, observing cessation. And breathing in and out, I rest in letting go. I observe relinquishment, letting go. Every inhale arises, every exhale passes away. The breath teaches impermanence more directly and clearly than any philosopher ever could. When we feel this, not just think it, grasping softens. And this tetrad is a little harder to get sometimes, which is why it is to be experienced. It gets a little gnarly because we usually mentally ask ourselves, what is meant by dispassion? What is meant by cessation? What is meant by relinquishment? So indulge me while I try to explain it a little. And know that it too is to be experienced, and the breath is the way to be carried there. In Theravadan Buddhism, dispassion, or the Pali is viraga. It's a calm, objective, and unbiased perspective that naturally arises from a deep understanding of the impermanent nature of things. It's not a cold, apathetic dulling of emotions, but rather a profound wisdom that frees the mind from suffering, from dukkha, caused by craving and attachment. It's about us seeing clearly, not just giving up. Dispassion doesn't mean that you stop enjoying life or become emotionless. It means seeing things as they truly are, without romanticizing or demonizing them. It's like a child growing up and losing interest in their old, worn-out teddy bear because they've outgrown the need for it. They don't hate the teddy bear, they just no longer cling to it. Dispassion is also something like losing your taste for unwholesome habits. Imagine your favorite childhood snack that you now find disgusting as an adult because you understand it's unhealthy. Some of us used to eat Twinkies and Ding Dongs and those coconut-covered snowballs. Dispassion is developing a similar attitude toward mental habits like greed, anger, and delusion. You lose your taste for these things because you see their hidden drawbacks and the stress they cause. And so ultimately, dispassion in Buddhism is a positive, liberating quality that leads to true peace and happiness by cutting the root causes of suffering. Now, cessation, the third step of this last tetrad, is the moment when contraction stops trying to hold itself together. Cessation is the process of letting go, rather than a mysterious, distant state. Cessation is a process of, it can be described as fading away of the sense of self. That is constantly seeking and striving. We don't have to pry our hands open. We don't have to force release. We simply recognize that holding hurts more than letting go. Holding hurts more than letting go. And when we stop identifying so strongly with our desires and attachments, the mental noise and turmoil cease. This can bring a profound stillness and clarity, often described as a state of bliss without ordinary consciousness, achieved through deep meditation. Maybe you've heard the Buddha's analogy of holding a hot coal. The pain is the suffering and craving is the desire to keep holding on to it. Maybe you think it's valuable. Cessation is simply the act of opening your hand and dropping the coal. The pain stops immediately. The suffering wasn't inherent in the coal itself, but in the act of clinging. In daily life, this means learning to observe thoughts, feelings, and experiences without the need to control them, attach to them, or push them away. When craving ceases, a deep sense of contentment and peace has space to arise. It's the off switch for suffering. Imagine a light switch. Suffering is the light being turned on, powered by the electricity of craving. Cessation is flipping the switch off. The power source, craving, is cut, and the light, suffering, goes out. And it's not about being emotionless. Achieving cessation doesn't mean becoming a cold, unfeeling person. In fact, it's the opposite. By ending negative emotions like greed, hatred, and delusion, one can become filled with profound spiritual joy and compassion for all beings. And it's achievable in this life. Cessation is not just something that happens like after death. It's a state of mind, an inner peace that can be experienced here and now through practice. Every time we successfully let go of a desire or an unhelpful habit, we get a taste of cessation. Letting go is not something we perform. Letting go is something that happens when clinging no longer makes sense. Clinging releases on its own. When we see that there is nothing to hold, no reason to hold on, this is cessation. The ending of unnecessary strain, the ease of not forcing life to be different than it is. And in that last line, we have relinquishment. In Theravadan Buddhism, relinquishment for a layperson, a non-monastic, is primarily an internal practice of letting go of attachment to desires and expectations rather than a physical abandonment of the world. It's about finding freedom from the mental pressure and suffering caused by clinging to impermanent things. Relinquishment, or nekkhamma, or kagga in Pali, the language at the time of the Buddha, it's not necessarily about selling all the possessions or leaving the families or becoming monks and nuns. The core is the attitude behind our actions. We can still have a job, a home, and relationships, but we work on not being enslaved by the desire for them or the fear of losing them. A simple analogy is the difference between a clenched fist and an open hand. This clenched fist represents attachment or clinging. And when we tightly grasp something, money, a relationship, a good reputation, we're tense and anxious and inevitably suffer when it changes or goes away, because everything in life is impermanent. And then when the hand opens, this represents relinquishment or letting go. We can hold things gently in an open hand, appreciating them while they are present, but also allowing them to pass away naturally without mental distress. Without relinquishment, our minds jump from one desire to another, like the monkey swinging from branch to branch. This is constant seeking. It leaves us tired and unfulfilled. And for lay people and householders, relinquishment can manifest in simple ways. generosity or dana, which is giving without expecting anything in return. It helps to adorn and beautify the mind by weakening selfishness. This is a tangible form of letting go of material things. Letting go of getting, instead of constantly seeking fulfillment from external circumstances and experiences, a person can shift their energy toward understanding their experiences as they are, moment by moment. And there's moderation, practicing moderation in sensory pleasures, food, entertainment, cell phone use for the news, Instagram, etc. Helps us to reduce these pleasures. It brings power over the mind. And I want to emphasize that we're truly gaining, not losing. Relinquishment is a gain, not a loss. We're not giving up happiness. We're trading, as the Buddha said, a lesser, temporary, stressful form of happiness for a more stable, lasting inner peace. It's about freedom from constant striving and worry. So to summarize relinquishment, it's cultivating a generous spirit and an inner attitude of non-clinging, which allows one to engage with the world more freely and peacefully, reducing suffering in the here and now. Letting go is not dramatic. It's quiet. It feels like the shoulders soften, the jaw relaxes, the breath falls open. The breath has been teaching this since the very beginning. Inhale, arising. Exhale, releasing. Stillness, spacious awareness. We're learning to live inside our own breath instead of inside our thinking about life. We start with the simplest doorway that we can actually feel, the breath in the body. Not thoughts about the breath, not images of the breath, not commentary on the breath, just breath, as it is, as it comes, as it goes. The breath is the Dharma speaking. It's not a path of forcing or improving. It's a path of recognizing what is already true. So again, taking one slow breath now. Breathing in, notice the body receiving. Breathing out, notice the body softening. Let's experience this last tetrad. Breathing in, I train myself. I will breathe in, observing impermanence. The breath is the perfect way for us to notice impermanence. It arises and passes. Breathing out, observing impermanence. I train myself. I will breathe out, observing impermanence. Breathing in, I train myself to observe the fading away of grasping. Observing the fading away of grasping. Cultivating dispassion. The fading away of grasping. Breathing out, I train myself to observe the fading away of grasping. observing the fading away of grasping, cultivating dispassion. Breathing in, I train myself to observe cessation. Breathing out, I train myself to observe cessation. We train to notice clinging, releasing on its own when we see that there's nothing to hold. Breathing in, I train myself to observe cessation. Breathing out, I train myself to observe cessation. Breathing in, I rest in letting go. I train myself, observing relinquishment. Breathing out, I train myself, observing relinquishment. We can hold things gently in an open hand, training for a more stable, lasting inner peace. Breathing in, I rest in letting go. I train myself, observing relinquishment. Breathing out, I train myself, observing relinquishment. We can hold things gently in an open hand, training for a more stable, lasting inner peace. I'd like to share another story. One late summer evening, I walked along a river trail. The light was soft, that golden hour where everything seems touched with the kindness of the afternoon sun fading. You might have noticed just a couple of days ago when the sunset was filling a hazy, clouded sky. It was glowing, that kind of golden hour. I sat by the water. From a distance, the river looked still and almost unmoving. But when I looked closely, everything was flowing, always changing, always moving. Breathing in, I felt movement. Breathing out, I felt stillness. The river was both. And I realized I am also both. I can be steady and changing at the same time. I can be moving and resting. I can be uncertain and still somehow held. Something inside me let go that day, without effort, without decision, the way a leaf lets go of a branch when it's simply time. We can see this is happening all around us right now in the fall season. Release isn't something that we force, release is something that ripens. So, how do we bring the practice into daily life? These 16 steps are a progressive map, and we begin with awareness of the breath, expanding to the whole body, attune to the feeling and mind, and then finally see the changing nature of experience. The aim isn't to master each step, but to cultivate calm and insight through sustained awareness. I know we don't practice in caves or mountain hermitages. We practice in kitchens and living rooms and cars, during text messages and emails and medical appointments and grocery lines. Busy minds, tired hearts, workplaces, relationships, and in the middle of our very real human lives. So, mindfulness of breathing needs to be portable, something we can return to in the middle of life, not away from it. The breath must be something that we can return to anywhere. The breath is always with us. We just learn how to come back. It fits into the smallest moments. One breath before responding, one breath before entering a room, one breath when the heart tightens. It doesn't require silence. It doesn't require calm. It doesn't require time off from life. It only requires willingness to return. So I'll try to shorten these into daily life. That first tetrad of returning to the body. When we feel overwhelmed, the mind tries to solve the overwhelm. But the mind can't think its way into peace. We return down into the body, not necessarily silent, maybe not very calm, right in the midst of life. Return again. The breath is the bridge. Most of us live from the shoulders up in the swirl of thoughts. The breath invites us back into the body. So we can try in any ordinary moment, drop the attention from the head into the chest. Feel where the breath actually touches you. Don't adjust it, let the body breathe itself. The body doesn't ask us to be better than we are. It asks only for presence. The body doesn't ask us to agree with anything. It doesn't ask us to have answers. It only says, be here with me. This is often the most compassionate thing we can do for ourselves. And breathing with emotion. Every emotion has a physical expression. Anxiety tightens the chest. Sadness lowers our shoulders. Anger heats the throat and jaw. Fear pulls the breath up and fast. Tenderness spreads wide behind the sternum. When we breathe with emotion, we're saying, I will stay. I won't leave myself. I am allowed to exist. We're not fixing the feeling. We're not pushing anything away. We're simply staying present with what is already here. This is emotional courage. This is what dissolves shame. This is how we learn to return to ourselves instead of abandoning ourselves. We're just letting life unfold. The breath is not the goal, but it is the path. And what we learn over time is how experience arises, how we tighten around it, how softening becomes possible, how release happens when Clinging is no longer needed. We don't have to get rid of discomfort. We just stop fighting it. We learn how experience arises, how we tighten around it, how we soften, and how release happens when clinging is no longer necessary. We begin to trust the unfolding of our own life, even when we don't understand it. This is how the breath becomes wisdom. This is what allows life to become workable. The Buddha didn't ask us to force awakening. He asked us to stay close to what is real. And so, in closing for now, my friends, may your breath be a place of refuge. May you remember that you do not need to force awakening. You simply need to stop leaving yourself. May your heart soften where it's been armoring. May your courage deepen where life asks you to stay present. May you know in your bones that awakening is not far away. It is as close as the breath you are taking right now. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being here. May you be well. May you be at ease. May you be free. Let's take some time to let these words settle down. If you found that any of this talk helped you, remember throughout your evening and onward from now that if some of it seemed too challenging, then don't worry about it. Just let the words flow over you. When we remember the breath, we return to the place in us that can meet life without collapse. This is the heart of the sutta, alive in the world that we actually live in. Just taking a few more breaths, noticing in your mind what words might pop out from this discourse. And when you gently open your eyes, I'll pass out an outline of today's talk with some suggested questions for reflection. And I'll read the questions briefly for you to ponder so that when you get to stand up and stretch and take a bio break, it'll be on your mind. These questions are doorways. They're invitations to looking gently and honestly into your own life. They aren't assignments. They're simply invitations. So the general idea of these questions is, which tetrad feels most alive or accessible in your own practice right now? What happens when you try to calm the body or mind with the breath? How does noticing impermanence in the breath affect your relationship to daily stress? And so before we take a moment and stand up for a little break, I want to let you know how our Sangha holds together. How we keep the Dharma alive. And the practice of dana, or generosity, is one of the first of the Buddha's teachings. And it's one of it came even before he taught meditation. He taught generosity or dana, and then sila, living in harmony with each other, and then meditation. And so it's rooted in kindness and growing through giving, and the heart of the Sangha is generosity, whether through volunteering to set up help chairs, contributing to the newsletter, or greeting people when they come in, or welcoming people on our first Saturday of the month social time. Dana is the practice of keeping the Dharma flowing. The Buddha's path begins and ends with generosity, and it's the path that connects us all. The spirit of dana is that of freely given and freely shared. And so Trina and I, the home teachers at PNWM, offer dana freely to our group, and we offer monetary dana to visiting teachers in gratitude for their travel to us and their teaching, and to help support them in their lives. And the Buddha suggested that each act of giving is a seed of awakening. It nourishes peace and wisdom in the world. A community of generosity is a refuge for the heart. We have various options to help support the teaching, so no matter how small or large your monetary donation is, please know that it's accepted with gratitude and with humility. And even when giving digitally, that, it changed so much when we started online, and you always feel like, oh, is anybody ever going to see that I gave this? Well, I've employed it even when digitally. I think about what the Buddha said about generosity. The Buddha said that one may first know joy when thinking about giving. And number two, know joy in practicing the actual giving. And number three, knowing there is happiness upon receiving it. So when I give digitally now, I imagine who's ever opening the PayPal account or the Zelle or the Venmo or something, I imagine them smiling and happily moving that donation on to their Sangha. So it's helpful to reflect frequently on the ways that generosity benefits the receiver, and at the same time deepens our practice of compassion and wisdom, which leads step by step to complete liberation. And through helping others, we're also helping ourselves and benefiting the larger community. So over on the table, if you feel so moved, there's Venmo, QR code, and a PayPal and a Zelle if you want to directly deposit. And there's cash and a way to write a check. Some people still write checks. And there's also over there an option to take the survey to let us know how we're doing. And it's short, so don't be shy. And also refer to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook pages to listen to previous recorded talks. And you know what they say, like and subscribe. I think we probably have 42 subscribers on YouTube, maybe 25 on Facebook, but I know people watch them. But it always helps to have people like and subscribe. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording and we'll take a short break, and we'll come back for discussion in about 5 minutes and connect with each other and have some shared conversation. And we might not have time for another meditation at the end. We'll see. So I'm going to conclude with this once again. Mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, fulfills the four establishments of mindfulness. The four establishments of mindfulness, when developed and cultivated, fulfill the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 7 factors of awakening, and when developed and cultivated, fulfill true knowledge and liberation. So this path of breathing can be fulfilled by discovering deeply with our meditation practice to actually lead to total freedom from suffering. And it can happen in this very life. Okay, I said I was going to pause. Go ahead. Stand up. I know you want to.